Hi guys! Today we are talking with Dinis Guarda, CEO and crypto economist, driver and evangelist, listed in various top 100 most influential people in fintech, blockchain and social media. With over 20 years experience in international business, Dinis created a bank between Africa and Asia, managed growth sale campaigns, multiplied startups and various new digital currencies. Hi Dinis!
Hello, hi there. Nice to be here with you.
Nice to hear you too. Currently, Dinis Guarda is a founder and CEO at Ztudium. It's a digital network for finance, markets, and business focused on social media DNA. What does it mean? We are going to talk about this. So, Humaniq, one of the projects that you headed, uses biometrics in place of traditional identification documents to allow 1.5 million people in undeveloped countries to get access to financial institutions for the first time. Are you still passionate about humanitarian ideas based on the blockchain technology?
Yes, I'm more excited than ever. Actually, since I left Humaniq, I created actually with my own company Ztudium, we built a new software called BlocksDNA. And this software right now is being used by actually more than this 1.5 million people. Actually, we are right now reaching potential to go to 100 million people. And is a software that uses blockchain technology and biometrics as well, but especially blockchain identity, and to create systems of financial inclusion, but as well identity for a lot of countries that have not this identity. And we are right now doing pilots in various countries in Africa, but as well starting projects in Asia and Latin America.
Wow. Your current project as Ztudium is also associated with biometric identification. As it appears in the description, the solution puts the world's intelligent data inside in your fingertips. Could you tell us more, please, about this concept?
Yeah, so I think at the moment, any business in the world is all about data. And I think the point of biometric is that is creating a data point of identification between our own organic part and the digital part of our data. It might be our health, might be our financial information, it might be even our relationships and so forth. So what we're trying to do with Ztudium is mostly, first of all, is looking at data in the perspective of independence and making sure that people have control over their data and at the same time are rewarded by their data. So our software is being built in the sense that we want to make sure that the data that anyone has access is controlled by the user and not by big corporations like the ones that we know today. And I think this is a very important thing because especially new generations coming, and children and so forth, will have more challenge than ever because at the moment everything is digitalized, but you have no control over that data. So anyone can do whatever they want with it. For instance, even today, I'm based in the UK, and the National Health Organization is actually right now matching data of users to understand how to improve their efficiency, but without asking permission. So it's kind of even the governments are not doing it completely right. But of course, it's a challenge. Of course, in the UK, we still have more or less respectful for our data, but in some countries, it's a completely Wild West. So I think this part of the data is the most important thing going forward because it can be used against us. For instance, the last couple of weeks, and you are as well organizing an eventing about hacking, is that, for instance, Spotify is being used by, so the technology of Spotify in terms of data is right now creating biometric emotional data to understand if the users that listen to some music are more depressed or less depressed. And the thing is that this is kind of, yeah, it's funny at the same time, but then if you look at this, for instance, if you look, there was a study that if you listen to Eminem, or if you listen even to Justin Bieber, which is very strange, it means some songs in particular are very depressing. So that means you are potentially a depressing person, which is not realistic because you might be just in the mood to listen to some more or less. And this is a big thing because that means this data is going to be passed to advertisers. saying that this person is depressed, which is not the case. That means you're just not in the mood to listen to some more, I don't know, some kind of more Brazilian samba, whatever the stuff. So it's a very important thing, and this is actually a lot of consequences for the way organizations profile us. But if this data goes to big corporations, it can be used in a very bad way. Because, for instance, if an insurance company thinks that you are depressive, they will block some kind of financial access to you, which in some cases is just ridiculous. So we need still to bridge a lot of this data, but it's a big thing. So part of the software we're building and using blockchain is making sure that this data, first of all, is controlled by the users, and as well they are rewarded, and as well that there's a kind of a minimum approach towards the relationships that you have with this.
In your article on Medium, you pay a lot of attention to the sharing economy. Is blockchain an integral part of the sharing economy? If yes, why is it needed to this field?
Yeah, I think blockchain is key for any industry, but especially for sharing economy. And I think because sharing economy is all about the idea of the capacity to sharing different parts of the economy and making it more sustainable between different users and peer-to-peer networks. So in the sense of blockchain, so as the internet matures, and the internet is only 15 years, you need to create identity for every operation of the internet. And a huge part of the operations of the internet are still offline. Not the internet, but the economy in general. So the fact that blockchain can create identity, and of course I'm simplifying, in the way we use the internet and we use different systems, will help creating more efficiency between different players. And as you are an organization or even a government, using blockchain allows you to avoid the spamming, to avoid different registrations. You'll have only one registration because of the smart contract technology, and that can actually help a lot the systems to become much more fair and much more credible, and as well avoiding duplication of efforts and simplifying things. For instance, one big challenge coming back, for instance, to a lot of things like financial inclusion or even money to help a lot of different projects, is understanding if the money reached people. And the fact is that if you use blockchain technology, you understand that this quantity of money went to this wallet. There's no way that can be 5 people that'll take the money and steal the money. So these kind of things will be very important to the sharing economy, but as well to create identity for the organizations that are doing the good work. So if you have an organization that does very good work in sharing economy, it might be helping homeless, or it might be just helping children in education or something like that, you actually can realize that this organization is doing good work because you see the complete circumstances on that. So I think blockchain, especially the identity of smart contracts and all the different parts of creating good operational systems for organizations, will make a big difference for the sharing economy and will help them grow in a better way.
Based upon your interviews, you earlier optimism about technology development has changed to soft anxiety because technologies can be used in both constructive or destructive ways. What is the probability that the development of artificial intelligence can place a deal with humanity, especially if it is used to manipulate finance or economies?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And actually on the top of that, we need to talk about war bots or warfare. I think especially as, I would say, between machine learning and we cannot still talk about artificial intelligence. We can talk about machine learning and deep learning. I think artificial intelligence will be in the next 5 years because we're still in early days. But I think the challenge so far is that what we saw with special Brexit and the US elections was manipulation, and Cambridge Analytica was the capacity to manipulate huge amounts of data in a very short period of time to manipulate emotions of big parts of society. And this is all done actually by simple technology, by social media, and by using data to manipulate or to target specific groups. So it's not very different from what advertisers are doing or hackers and so forth. So the challenge right now, and that's why I'm very positive but very realistic as well, is that as humans, we have different cultures, and each culture has different religions, different concepts about ethics, different concepts about the way we see love, hate, and even the way we see rights and so forth. So, of course, the way we push some of this planning and most of the intelligence that we put in the programming of machines and programming of deep learning and machine learning is going to have a lot of consequences in that level, because as we program to get results. We program to get better, we program to get do more sales, to get more results in our elections or whatever the stuff. And the challenge right now, I think, especially in the areas that you mentioned, and as well in military operations, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge, is that at the moment, we don't think about Terminator scenarios. At the moment, just using optimization of data and applying this data to, for instance, weapons, this is already a big headache. And this is all possible now. We're not talking about 5 years, it's now. So, and I think this, especially neural networks applied to aircraft, for instance, if you push, let's say, for instance, if you see the last Fast and Furious film, the last Fast and Furious film, if you take the fiction out, was a super hacker portrayed by Charlie Theron that mostly hacks the database of big amounts of cars and puts the cars going against each other. In theory, or in practice, this is possible. You can actually hack, for instance, if you hack BMW, or if you hack Mercedes, you can actually get the cars to get out of control and go against buildings or whatever the stuff. Of course, you need to have a massive amount of capacity, but this is not very far from actually the hackers that you're going to have in HackIT. Even me with a couple of hackers, I can do some of these things. So of course, this has a lot of consequences if you try to do this, for instance, to go and, for instance, hack the database of a missile technology database of for Russia or US or anything else. So these things are right now very, very concrete. So I think our challenge as people that are in technology and in data and as well in business is how can we use these technologies in the best way possible. But first of all, being conscious that our data is being manipulated for advertisement, first of all, but as well for a lot of other things. And as well, for instance, when it looks like relationships, for instance, you get divorced from your boyfriend or from your husband, and this kind of data stays as well. So if you get very angry with your boyfriend and you write things in social media, this can be used against you, and it is being used against you. So this touches a lot of different areas of society, and I think we're still not completely aware of the consequences this is going to have. First in the personal level, but as well on the business and in the other levels. And for instance, a very simple exercise is, for instance, if someone has the same name as you and does a crime, your name becomes with a reputation is you. That's why blockchain technology can help creating a profile for us that is a clean profile. But then we have the question is, okay, who is going to manage that profile? If it's not you, because not everyone is a technology person. So you understand the questions. But I would say that on the military problem, it's a big thing. And then, of course, in the data for countries, elections, as we saw in the last 2 years, is already a big thing. For instance, a lot of things that happened with the US elections, I've been teaching social media for the last 10 years, and I was telling my students, if you do this, you can go to jail. So what Cambridge Analytica did is that they broke probably 10 different rules or 20 or more. And of course, there's ethics around that. Of course, well, Cambridge Analytica was destroyed, but in the end of the day, the president of the United States is the president of the United States, and is being used these techniques. So it's a very sensitive stuff. I'm not going to the political level, but I just want to make sure that, and as well on my company, what I try to do with the software I do is with an activist, like I said, the white hacking in a good way, is you can do it in a way that you avoid that you can be manipulated, or at least you can be rewarded by your data. And that's the part that I'm excited, but of course I'm cautious about that. And specifically AI and blockchain are key for this. And yeah, I think all of us, everyone has to have a point and a statement on this, because yeah, if you don't have the point, we're going to be used. And I think it's a question I do a lot in my talks is, are you driving or you want to be driven? And if you are driven, yeah, you need to be prepared for where people are taking you. And that's the question I ask everyone, especially people in technology.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dinis.
Yeah.
Oh, we all very excited about your participation in HackIT, and since you will act as a speaker at HackIT conferences, we have to ask a question regarding cybersecurity. Is the blockchain technology a solution to security problems? If we are talking about data storage and delivery, aren't the strengths of the blockchain too exaggerated by enthusiasts?
Yeah, it's a big question. So I would say that a couple of different things before we go in directly to the answer. I think the first thing right now is understanding that so there's no silver lines or silver bullets for questions for saving everything. So cybersecurity is probably the biggest thing that we have in our society, because of course, as all the economy, all the systems, all our data is digitalized, of course, it's all about control and security about that data. So of course, it starts with each of us, first of all. Then secondly is that as we become more dependent of data and digital infrastructures, of course, this becomes a big asset for warfare and for business, for companies, for competitors to try to get things. So having said this, I would say that I see cybersecurity as the biggest thing, and we're just in the beginning. So for instance, only 90, so if you look at 90% of the world economy, only 90% of this world economy is not still digitalized. It's still using paper. Most of governments are still using papers. So we still have 90% of growth to go. So only 10% of the world economy is digitalized, although everyone uses a phone or two. So it's kind of a paradox. Even in the poorest countries in the world, everyone is using a phone. So the challenge right now is blockchain definitely, if grows properly and if it's managed in a decentralized and actually it's not so much about centralized, decentralized, but more in the sense of growing in an ethical way, it's the right solution to create identity. And it comes back to what I said before, that if you create identity for the data of each user, it's impossible for you to hack that data because it's that user is that user. So you cannot fake 5 different variations of that user, which is what most of the cyber hacks do. They go and they look at infrastructure, they stay in infrastructure, and then they hack the entire system. So, and as well, another thing is about education. So actually probably more important than the technology is that a huge part of the cybersecurity issues are softwares that are not updated, are people that are very, very laying back in the sense of they have no carefully about the way they use data. For instance, I teach in a school of for business school, which is not a simple school, for the last 10 years. And if I go to all the public companies of the school, there's always 5 students that forget to sign out of their Gmails, their social media accounts, and so forth. This is young people. And that means they leave their entire profiles available for an entire school. So if I hack the database of the school, I can find most of the students of the school. And this is just an example of how things are. So it's about education. So just signing up the accounts, making sure that you have a password that is not 123, basic things that are basic. But this is happening. And this is kind of the irony, is that the business are even worse because most of the business are really very badly digital savvy. So they're just thinking about selling things. They don't care. For instance, if you look at the Panama Papers hacking, the hacking was done through a WordPress website that someone forgot to say properly. And most of the corporations worldwide, they don't care about their websites. Their website, for instance, I was working with a fund of $100 million that their website was done in the most stupid way possible. But they forgot that through the website, you can actually hack the entire system and then do a lot of stuff. So it's kind of, it's a lot of things. So blockchain, of course, can save this. But of course, education and blockchain is too advanced for someone that is just doing a website. If you're just doing a website and you forget to make a good password, blockchain won't save you. So it's kind of a yes, of course. And of course, especially if you go more advanced, and especially your audience is more advanced, is I think the idea of creating identity for data and for systems, especially for smart contract technology, is the most important thing. But we're still in early days. And for instance, a lot of the smart contracts are still possible to hack very easily. So you can only do this. And for instance, one of the things that is the topic of my conference is when I mentioned hacking the DNA of mankind is really possible at the moment. So it's kind of not in 5 years. For instance, I have a friend of mine that is working in a company that is digitalizing 25 million DNA in Indian people. So if the smart contract where they're putting the data of 25 million is used by the wrong people, I don't need to say more. So that definitely is happening. It's not in 5 years. So of course we have all these challenges. Of course, most of people, I think most of the hackers are not really necessarily crazy in the sense of trying to destroy the world. So I think most of the hackers, like you said, are white hackers, and of course some of them just want to make money. And of course they make money with the fragilities of the system. So I think the challenge is not so much sometimes even the hackers, is the lack of responsibility of people, but that is education, coaching, and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of complications there.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about your books. As you know, you author of 2 books focused on blockchain, crypto economics, and ICOs. It's excited that they will be published this year. How are things going?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. I think actually the books are mostly done. I just keep on adding more things. But so it's 2 books complementary. One is more educational because I did as I speak all over the world and I speak with a lot of governments, central banks, and so forth. I found out that people have no clue about basic things. So I decided, okay, it's better to do one that is more education, teaching people the basics about blockchain, fintech, and even reminding them about the basic things. And then the other one is more advanced. So the more advanced is the one blockchain, AI, and crypto economics, the next tsunami. And I put the next tsunami question mark precisely because this can become a tsunami that can destroy or at least change the entire global economy and the global society. And we're not so far from that. Actually, it's not just me. For instance, some of the directors of Google are talking that AI is more radical than actually the invention of fire, and I don't have doubts. And it's not just if you put AI, blockchain together with crypto economics, you change the entire models of mankind. And of course, crypto economics is the most challenging because it depends on how eager people are to scale technology. But especially in artificial intelligence, everything we're doing is already using AI. So my books reflect that, and they reflect how this changes our lives, and as well how blockchain is right now creating a new level of, especially with the blockchain comes from cryptographic technology. How can we use this to create this identity that I mentioned before, but as well, how can we use it in practical examples to improve society and create solutions for society? And that's what I'm excited. That's what books reflect. And I'm trying to be positive without being too much destroyed about the problems that we have. But this book in particular, the last one, is around 300 pages. The other one is around 200. So it's big books, a lot of reflection, a lot of analytics as well, but a lot of graphics. I try to make it something that everyone can read or at least understand. And yeah, I want to, throughout the end of the year, I want to make really a big push to promote it worldwide. And I'm excited as well because that's, of course, we're talking about 3 years of research that is there.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. And I believe I will have one with your signature.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, among other things, you an advisor at a well-known here, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. Does this mega project have touch points with blockchain technology?
Yeah, I've been mostly advising in the blockchain capacity at that level. And I think, well, this project is very big, as you know, but I think it's mostly the success of the project is the capacity, again, to create solutions for big infrastructure of society, because we're talking about each of these projects. For instance, the first big pilot that is going to be launched worldwide is in Dubai World Exchange. And there's going to be a 5 miles track that is going to be as well with the Hyperloop full functional. And it's going to be in I think 2 years or something like that. So it's almost very advanced. And they're doing as well in the south of France already a big track experiments with Airbus. So I think it's a project that I'm very excited. But again, these projects will be only successful if they are able to grow and really create solutions for thousands or millions of people. But as well, ironically, again, comes to data. So they need as well to look at data. And one of the things we're looking at is really using blockchain to look at the infrastructure of the data that is going to be used in terms of transportations. Because as I mentioned before, a big challenge with transportation is that at the moment, if you live in a big city, you don't need a car, because the car becomes really a more of a complication than is a facility. And so big corporations like BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and all the major brands are more and more thinking about transportations as moving targets, so things that you go from one place to the other. And these moving targets or vehicles like tubes or electric cars or driverless cars, all of this is kind of the same technologies that actually Hyperloop is building. So what Hyperloop is trying to understand is looking at data to improve their systems, and as well countries that can use their technology, but as well do it in a sustainable way, because of course it's so advanced technological-wise that you need to make sure that you do it in a economy of scale, and as well with the right funding and the right approach. So blockchain, both from a technological perspective of data and understanding identity of cities, smart contract technologies, and smart cities as well, it's key for them. And it's where I'm being kind of involved with them and what I believe in the project, and I'm excited.
Okay, Dinis, thank you for your time. And you guys have a chance to meet Dinis in person in HackIT on the 10th of October. Please find the link to the website under the video. And Dinis, thanks for your time. You're awesome, and we look forward to seeing you at HackIT.
My pleasure. I'm looking forward as well. Actually, I'm looking forward to meet and touch with your audience, because I want to learn as well. So I want to share ideas, but as well learn and hear ideas. So I'm looking forward.
Yeah, maybe you can say a couple words to our attendees. Short invitation, like, guys, come on.
Yeah, no, completely. I think everyone that is in technology should be going to this event. And I think an event about hacking, in especially white hats and solutions and technology and education, is really massive. I'm very excited because it's something that is, I think at the moment, especially people in blockchain and in technology, they really need this. And I love the way you organized it, because you have the different areas. So you have the Econ Cup, you have the networking day, the training, especially the trainings is very important. And as well the attack day. I'm actually very curious to see how you actually put the different things in terms of hacking, because in the end of the day, this is massive. And I think this is a great opportunity to have 32 plus speakers and a lot of keynotes talking about what is happening in the industry, but as well the opportunity to talk with the experts and see the trends. I think it's a great opportunity. And as well, you are very central in Europe. It's a great location, especially a lot of people in blockchain. And I know that Ukraine has a huge community of great blockchain and technology people. So I urge you to go to the event, and I'm looking forward as well. So I will promote as much as I can as well.
Thanks, Dinis, so much, and for your support and for this interview. And I wish you a very good day, and look forward to you.
Yeah, the same here. Okay. All the best.
Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.